Greetings, awesome students. We've made it to the last project of the semester. I first want to say I've been really impressed so far with the projects that have been coming in. Everyone who's been turning in the projects has really accomplished the tasks. I've seen some really creative stuff, a lot of which I'm just sitting back and just loving. Entertained, to say the least. You guys are doing a great job. I will be doing at least one more tutorial after this one, which is going to cover some of the content that we're going to have on the ACA exam. I'll talk more about that in an email, but basically part of taking this class, if you would like, as an option, is to come into Golden West one night and take a certification test that is offered through Certiport. If you pass, and you will probably pass, you will get what's called an ACA certification, which is an Adobe Certified Associate, which is a certification that you can put on your resume that shows that you have an ACA certification in Adobe Premiere Pro CC. Again, I'll talk more about that later on. My next tutorial, though, will be kind of to prep you for things that will be on that exam that we haven't covered so far. Okay. This last assignment for the semester it should be a fun one. The idea behind this assignment is to take content that's raw, and even single take if possible, and to turn it into something gorgeous using effects and using the Lume color plugin that I'll talk about in this tutorial right now. I have a sample that I've already created. A friend of mine provided me with a sample and said, hey, look, I just took a minute and a half of footage, or a minute of footage with my iPhone. Can you turn it into something? It doesn't have to be mind-blowing amazing, but I just want something that looks professional. And I took it on as a challenge, and I think that there's a lot that can be learned from doing this, and I think that some of you are really going to be able to create some amazing content. So the idea here, take your I almost said iPhone, whatever device you have for filming, whether it's a phone, tablet, DSLR, and film a minute or two of a product. And this could be a store, this could be a product that's in your house, this could be anything. Be creative with it, something you enjoy. It could be a fake product even. And make a 30-second or up to 30-second promotional video promoting that product. Okay? In this case, I took 1 minute of iPhone footage and turned it into something that was usable that came out to about 24 or 25 seconds. Okay? Let me show you what I mean. Let me show you what I've captured so far. So the company is Brett's Auto Detailing, and he's providing me with a couple logos you can see right there, and then this 1 minute clip. So let's go ahead and let's watch the 1 minute clip. Handheld with an iPhone. If you can put it on a tripod, I would recommend doing so. And apparently this is a car that's going to be competing in a competition. He ran into the wall there. Watch behind you if you're walking backwards. What I really liked about this shot here is unknowingly he picked up some nice solar flares. What I didn't like though is that he's got wind in the audio. So I'll show you a technique I used to get rid of that at some point. And I was grateful that he was smart enough in this shot here to get the car pulling off and then to pan right around to the sign. So there it is. It's almost exactly 1 minute. And my task here was to take that 1 minute of footage and just do something with it that he could use through social media purposes. Okay. Again, if you have an Apple iPhone, if you have a phone or a tablet and you can get some sort of a tripod for it or even a stabilized mount, great. Otherwise, feel free to hand hold it. I'll even show you the warp stabilizer tool, which will enable you to kind of smooth some of that out a little bit. But here's what I did with it. The music, by the way, I pulled. I am aware it's not copywritten. We may change it into something that was public domain, but the company's in Indiana, and I know the owner of the company is really into this band. So I think that you will understand how it kind of fits the culture of the company as well. So here's the final piece I delivered. Zach Brown Band is the band I couldn't think of just now. And that's the full video, 26 seconds, and he was in love with it. There's a little bit of stuttering happening because I'm recording a 4K video at the same time as showing you video. Even with 32 gigs of RAM, it's slowing down a little bit. I could take this full here and make it half or quarter, but what I'm going to do is I will go ahead and put my finished video into the project folder where you'll turn in the project. So if you want to watch my MP4, you can watch it there. I can also give you a link to YouTube so you can just watch the video. But hopefully you can see you can take amateur footage, and with a few different plugins that I'm going to show you right now that come with Adobe Premiere, you can turn it into something that's useful. Okay. The first step of this is to identify your good footage. So what I ended up having to do here is just go through the content from the beginning and kind of play through it and identify kind of the best parts. So there's a clip there I can use, and then I kind of scrubbed ahead after watching it a few times. And at least here, until he hits the wall, it wasn't terrible. I don't like that handheld motion there. Maybe here to, maybe about there. And I think I used a little bit of that anyways. And then I kind of skipped to the solar flare that happened right there as the car is pulling out. I went ahead and I could just delete the footage I'm not going to use. I may go back to that. We'll see. But here the car is pulling out. All of this is good content. Up until there, I don't like that he backed up the way he did, so I can just put a cut there. Once he's backed up, maybe here. How about here? So I can delete that. Car pulls away. And we go to the sign. Great. So if I right click and then ripple delete the space there, I've taken 1 minute of footage and turned it into about 36 seconds, which I'm going to cut more in a little bit. Okay. But at least this way, if you only have 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes of footage, which is a good challenge, by the way, you know, it's not harder to cut it down, but you got to make sure you have enough content that's useful. Okay. Now, there's a few things I'm going to share with you as far as effects that are built into Premiere that will make this look a lot nicer. Okay. One thing is the warp stabilizer tool. Now, you don't want to use the warp stabilizer until you've identified which cuts you want to put it on. So I wouldn't have put it on the full minute clip. It affects each cut differently based on how much movement there is. Also, it takes a little while to render in the background, so use your shorter clips to warp stabilize. And if you look at this right here, it's pretty shaky footage. Just that short clip. Actually, I'll go with the longer. It's a little shaky, especially there. A lot of shaky. Let's see how the warp stabilizer does. If you just go to your effects tab, if it's not up here, it might be down here somewhere. You have to click an arrow to find it. We've talked about this before. I keep my effects here. And I usually keep my effect controls right next to it. In fact, I'm going to drag my effect controls so I can actually see them. So now my effects are here, my effect controls are here. Alright, so I'm going to type in warp. And there's a couple warps. The warp stabilizer effect is here. I'm going to drag that onto my clip. And then it analyzes in the background. You can see in your effect controls how fast it's going, depending on how much RAM you have and how long the clip is. This takes a while. It will do it in the background, though, so I can continue to work on other stuff while it's analyzing. You can see it's at 25%. I've got a pretty fast computer here. It's going to take about a minute for this clip here, which is only 5 seconds long. So you can imagine if you had a nice, long, really long clip, you might have an issue. And by the way, this is not 1920 by 1080. He sent it to me in a lower resolution. So the bigger the resolution, the longer that's going to take. Okay. It's going to take about 20 more seconds. We can just watch it. So you might have to fast forward 10 seconds right now if you want to. 88%, 90%. Once it gets through the full analyzing sequence, you'll see it'll say stabilizing right there. And then it will be stable. Now, you may have a red line here, meaning it needs to be rendered, but watch how much smoother this is right here. I will take it out of full. I'm going to put it in quarter so you can actually see it a little better. So there's a little bit of kind of bizarre motion there, but it is definitely a little bit smoother, especially that shot right there. If I render it, I'm just going to select it, go to sequence, render into, sorry, I'm going to make an in and out point. So if I click below it and I hit I for in, click after it, hit O for out. I is in, O is out, then it makes a little in and out mark right there. You'll need to know that for the ACA test. I is in, O is out. Then I can render the in to out, which is in sequence, render into out. And then I should be able to watch that back in real time full. What rendering does is it takes a bunch of information that might be multiple layers or it might be multiple clips and turns it into one single file. So it's only reading one file and not a bunch of files. So if you watch right here, this part here I could tell is smoother. The first part there was still a little bit shaky, so it's not ideal for this particular clip, but it helps a little bit. You'll have to experiment on your own. The shakier the footage, the less it works, but if it's just a little bit of a vibration or a shake, and there's some consistency in the background, then you'll be able to get a much smoother look. We use this a lot for our drone footage, for our older drones. The gimbals might not have been as steady, so we add the warp stabilizer, and it works pretty well. Okay, so I'll leave it on there for now. The next tool I want to show you, which is extremely valuable and new to Adobe CC 15. If you don't have Adobe CC 2015, you probably will not have the Lume Color tool. You will need it. This is why it's an important part of this class to have Adobe CC 2015. Okay, the Lume Color tool is a blessing. Before that, we had to use the three-way color corrector, which did decently when it came to color correction, but this is a whole new thing. So one way to get to it is you can just click on color right here, and you can go into the color formatting. And if I went back to my all content, if I go to this clip here, I can just simply make adjustments from the right side here, and it looks a lot like Adobe Lightroom or something you'll see in Photoshop. And it will apply the Lume color correction to the clip. So if I want to add, let's say, a vignette, you have over here on the right side basic correction, creative, curves, color wheel, and vignettes. Okay, you can literally affect all of the different colorizations. If you made an underexposed shot, you can bring the exposure up here. If you want to bring up your contrast, that gives it kind of a cooler look. Bring it down and flatten it out a little bit. Your saturations here, if you want to add a lot more color, really easy, although it's a little artificial. I would recommend clicking on creative and using vibrance if you want to add more color. And by the way, that already is making a nice, much better look to my clip. You know what, let me add it to this clip here. It'll be a little more obvious. The lighting is a little bit better right here. I'll try and move that over, but apparently, oh, there we go. So right here, if I add a little bit of vibrance, then immediately the reds pop a little bit more. Now I'm getting some really weird digitized looking purple stuff down here, so you don't want to bring it up all the way. But that's not going to hurt right there, okay? Then I'm going to add a vignette. A vignette means darkening or lightening of the edges. So I can go all the way. There's a white vignette if I pull to the right. There is a black vignette if I pull to the left, okay? Hopefully you can see right away. If you bring a little bit of vignette in, especially with an iPhone footage or phone footage, it gives it a much nicer look. Now, it got darker, so I may now want to bring the exposure up just a little bit, okay? And when I go back to my vignette, to get there, by the way, basic correction, bring the exposure up, okay? The vignette, you could adjust, in addition to the amount, to the midpoint of it, so I can bring it all the way in or pull it out, okay? So I'm going to keep it about there. The roundness, so I can have a square vignette, or it can be more round. And then how much feather you want to have. So I can literally have a spotlight in the middle now, apparently. Or I can feather that out. So this, putting the vignette, there used to be 4 different ways to do it. And they all used to be relatively challenging or just a lot of work. It's built into this color correction right now. And really just makes it so easy to make this look more professional. So I recommend take your footage, play around with the vignette, okay? You also have color wheels, so you can just bring up and down shadows. You can also recolor the shadows by spinning it around or to identifying a spot. So now all of my darks are red as opposed to black. Now they're blue, now they're green. So you can play with some really cool color stuff here. Let's say, for example, I go to the clip. 2 seconds in, I make a cut. 2 seconds in, I make a cut. That's less than 2 seconds, I know. And then I can make them each a different color. So if I click on this one, I'll make my darks blue. And when I click on this one, I'll make my darks red. And when I click on this one, I can make them yellow. So now at the beginning of my video already, I've got all types of different colors. You can make those strobe also, so make them, cut them in faster, and you can go black, red, or yellow, red, however you want to do it. Back to the natural color. Oh, no natural color yet. I will pull this back here. Okay. Now, if you want to remove the Lume color or make any major changes, I don't like it, I want to see how it looks with it off, it's just an effect. So if I go back to editing, once you've made an adjustment in the color interface here, I click on editing right next to it. If you click on the clip, you see it now has the Lume color effect added to it. So this clip here, for example, I haven't added anything to. It's not there. These clips at the beginning, though, I've added it to. Okay. You can also apply the Lume color effect as an effect. So for example, if I go to my effects tab and I type in color, or Lume might be easier, I can drag this on top of, let's say, this clip over here. And then all of the effects that you want are built into the Effects Controls tab. It's the same interface as your other effects. So here's your vignette. Oops. Oh, it somehow deselected my clip. If I click on Vignette, there we go. I can adjust the amount with one of these numbers here. So I can go black or white. I'll add the white. It looks a little cheesy, but it works. The roundness I like, but there's too much of it, so I'm going to bring the midpoint back. There we go. Okay, so now I've added the vignette. You can also make it black and white in here, although there is a black and white effect. If you really want to make something black and white, black, there is a black and white effect. I just typed in the word white. Here it is. So you can just drag black and white onto the clip, and now it's black and white. And now that it's black and white with the Lume color, you can add some contrast to it in the basic correction and make it look pretty cool. Okay, now I might go, well, now I don't like the vignette I had before, so you could just click down arrow the vignette again, and I can make it a black vignette, which I think looks a little bit more professional, by the way. And more of it. Just play with the parameters. You don't have to worry about what my parameters are. Try yours. And now look at this clip here. Again, it's a little bit jumpy because I'm at full and I'm recording while playing with it. But already, this does not look like it came out of an iPhone. It looks really clear and kind of cinematic, which is what we should be going for here. Okay. So the Lume color tool is an amazing tool for color correction, for adding effects of colors, okay? Here, my darks might be bluer than I want. I'm going to just make a cut here real quick. And this section right here, I don't like the white balance. He went from the inside where it was really nice to the outside, and it looks really blue. So I can, again, type in color into my effects tab, drag Lume color down to the effect, or I can just click on the color interface. Okay, go to my basic correction. I'm going to start with temperature because again it's really blue, so I can bring it over to the right and make it a little bit more of a lighter yellow or temperature. Not lighter, warmer is the word I was trying to think of. And now it looks a little bit nicer. Okay, do you see the difference, by the way? I just applied it to this moment here. It looks really nice. And all of a sudden it gets really blue. Well, if I like that and I want to apply it to the rest of the video, or at least until, probably the whole thing, I can just right-click, copy, then select the new clip, right-click, paste attributes, and make sure Lume color is selected, and I can paste that effect. And now the white balance is yellower. which may be better or may not, depends on your personal taste. Okay. Car is also looking dark. I can bring the shadows over, show off a little more of the car that way. I just applied it to this clip. So again, the Lume color tool really enables you to get a nice professional look out of footage that may not be that great, and then the footage that is that great, it's going to kind of take it to the next level as a color correction tool. Okay, I just added a vignette while I was talking. And if you decide, you know, that's just a little bit too much yellow, you just drag it over a little bit. Okay. Another technique that I used is the jump cut. So at the very beginning here, I've already kind of started it. Car moves a little bit, and it's really smooth. Well, if I just take out a cut every second or so, you can make this faster if you want to. Remove every other one. Right click to ripple delete. Now we have, not only is it changing color, because I added the color correction earlier, but it's kind of jumping spots. Okay. Now one thing I did that I probably would do differently is I would unlink the audio here. I'll show you why in a second. Select it, right click, and select unlink. I'm going to take the audio out there, and I'm just going to drag out the first bit of audio so it's all from the one take of audio. So you can hear the engine of the car without any edits underneath the car moving in. And it makes it a little bit more convincing because you don't hear the edits. A little trick that I did, by the way, remember I mentioned I don't like this footage here because you can hear the wind? Okay, you can hear the wind. If I right click and unlink and delete the audio here. In fact, I'm going to delete all the audio except for that first clip because it's nice and clean. Unlink. Delete the audio. I can take this clip now. If I hold down Option or Alt on a PC and drag it over, it will duplicate that. Or I can hit Command C, Control C for copy, and then Command V or Control V on a PC, and now you have another instance of the audio. But holding down Option and dragging is a much easier way to duplicate things. Now I got rid of that wind tone. And you wouldn't necessarily know that that audio right there isn't the actual live audio from this clip. If you look, you can see I just muted. I brought the volume down on the volume right here so you can't hear them as opposed to deleting them. If I right click, unlink, and delete them all, it'll be exactly the same. So I could do it this way too. And then I used the pen tool, which we've talked about to move audio, but if you hit P for pen tool, then you can draw in little nodes like this, and then you can adjust the audio in a certain spot. So you see here, I just deleted that. I've ramped up, let me zoom in. I've ramped up the audio clip right here. So you can hear it come in. If I solo that with S, and then ramped it down as if the car was pulling away. That being said, that audio clip is the exact same audio clip as this first one here, because it was a nice clean signal. You listen to it here. Okay, while we're on it, S is solo, M is mute. Okay, so if I just wanted to hear the music, I could either mute this clip here, or I can solo this clip here. Okay, if you had multiple tracks, you just wanted to hear one, choose solo. Okay. So you can see right here, I use that little jump cut technique at the beginning. There. And I lined it up with the beats of the music. You can see the vignette. I went to black and white just for an effect, and it also makes their logo pop a little bit. It's not really this jumpy. Again, I'm just recording video while playing video. To the outside shot, jump cut again. Back to black and white. Okay, and then I went to the white vignette here as opposed to the black. I thought it looked a little bit nicer. You can automate your vignette. So how did I do that? Well, let's go back to it. I'm going to go to my all content here. So this clip here, first you need to apply the vignette. So I'm going to select the clip. I'm still in the color interface, so I could just do it from here. Or again, if I was in the editing interface, I could just type in color, drag Lume color onto the clip, and then it's here. So I'm going to first make the vignette the dark vignette. Pull down as opposed to up. Up is white, down is black. And then you can keyframe it. So just like any other keyframe, on amount, I'm going to click the clock. I will then drag it all the way the other direction. It's kind of extreme. And then separate them a little bit. So then from the beginning here, it's going to be a black vignette, and then it's going to gradually adjust itself to the white vignette. I timed it so that happened as the camera was panning around. So right there it starts to turn now, and then he's got the white vignette around the sign. Watch it again. So we have the black vignette here. There's no audio. I got rid of it. And right here, it's going to start to go to the white vignette because I keyframed it, okay? Now the only other thing I probably should have done at the end that I didn't do is zoomed in on that sign. So with motion, I can click on the scale and position. Zoom in a little bit here. So I click the clock. And then I'm going to scale in and just move the sign over. So it's obvious here that we are advertising Brett's Auto Detailing. And that's my final position. Then I'll drag these over to the very end of the clip together. And now it's going to zoom in as he comes around, lock, and zoom. And then I could have very easily, watch that again. Here comes the zoom. I could have very easily taken that and then made a transition into his logo. So bring the logo over. If your product has a logo, you should probably use it. Now I could put any number of transitions right here. If I first I'm going to bring the logo up. I don't like the black edges, so I'm just going to scale it up with motion. And then I have to bring the position up to show off the phone number. There we go. If you click between two clips, you can add a transition. We've talked about some of the transitions before. Cross dissolve is the most used one. But if I just type in, well, you can look at them. Over on the left side here, if you arrow up, video transitions is going to open up. I have to get rid of the word color. Okay, make sure there's no words typed in the Finder. A lot of different types of transitions. I will tell you right away that most of these don't look very professional. The cube spin, right here. It's going to look like that. It's going to zoom in now, and then cube spin to the logo. Not horrible. If you put a little sound effect on it, it might be better. The flip over is also a little bit cheesy. Outdated, right? So I'm not a fan of those two, I have to be honest. Some of the iris ones, if you use them well in the right spot, maybe you can get away with. Use the round iris, so an iris just kind of makes a shape and transitions into the next. Looks a little bit slideshow-ish to me. Some of the dissolves, you can play with some of these others. The page peel and page turn are probably two of the worst. Not saying don't use them, but just expect it to look a little bit outdated if you're going to. Some of the dissolves. So we already talked about cross dissolve. That's the most obvious one. The dip to white is what I'm going to put right here. Doesn't look bad. And I would even put that in between some of these clips right here maybe. So you just select between the clip, drag the dip to white down. And now at the beginning of the video with the colors, dip to white. I meant to put it there, but I can have it there also. Now, if you have warp stabilization on and you add an effect or a transition, you need to reanalyze it. Keep that in mind. I'm glad that happened just now. I'm not going to necessarily use this. I'm just going to get rid of the transition. You can get rid of any, the effect I mean. You can get rid of any effect. If you want to just preview it off, you can just click FX and it goes off, okay? If you want to get rid of it completely, right-click and cut. Now my warp stabilization is gone. But now as you saw, I used the dip to white. And of course, there's also a dip to black. So this is a little bit better toward the end of a film, but you can, or a chapter, dip to black and bring it up. You can adjust the speed of these transitions. I'm going to zoom in. by just dragging the edges of the brown lines closer together. So that went really fast. It was like a blink, like a blip. Kind of adds to going to black and white though. Earlier I made these in and out points. If you want to get rid of them, just right click anywhere inside of it on this ruler and you can clear in and out. You'll want to do this before you export anyways. So now it's gone. Again, I had an in, I had an out, O, and I right clicked in this ruler right here and you just drag down to clear in and out and they go away. I'm going to zoom out. And there's a few effects. Now, I would absolutely practice and experiment with some of these other effects. There's some really interesting effects. If you just click on video effects, some of them are a little bit awkward. Like if you go to generate, you start generating things, it'll completely get rid of your clip. There's lightning inside here, and you can adjust all these parameters to the angle of the lightning, how big the lightning is, the color of the lightning. Oh, that's my Lume color. I'm going to bring that up. Here we go. The starting point, so I can drag it across to there. So now it's coming out of the wheel of the car, kind of. Interesting effect here, the lightning effect. I can adjust how much lightning, how crazy it gets. So there's 7 segments. There's a lot more segments. The color of the lightning, I can make different colors. So if I wanted it to be green, like a bright fluorescent green. Now it's green. And if this was being played back in full, as opposed to quarter, it would look a lot crisper. There we go. Although, yeah, it's a little taxing on the computer right now. Again, because I'm recording while doing this. So there's all types of things you can do with the lightning. I'm going to get rid of it right now, though. If you go to stylize, you get some pretty interesting things. You can get the mosaic. A lot of these are Photoshop styles. That's how you make a mosaic, by the way. If you just want to make a section of a mosaic, you can use that one there. Here's the emboss. And again, you can play this back. I might have to go to a quarter or to render the section, or just scrub over it. But you can see that's emboss. Once again, I'm taking footage that wasn't that professional or good to start with in most cases, and I'm creating something that looks unique and professional. Okay. Don't overuse emboss. Don't emboss the entire thing. Solarize is another colorization effect. Very cool sort of look. Right there. It's going to look clearer like that. Almost looks like infrared. It very much gives it that infrared sort of look. Solarize this clip right here. Again, I might have to render to play it back in real time. Yeah. But that's pretty cool looking sort of effect. So I encourage you to play with some of these effects in order to take video that's amateurish to start with and turn it into something that a client would be happy with. Okay? Once again, if there is a logo, you can put it in the corner right here. I would, when using logos in the corner, one little hint, put it as your top layer, drag it across. I prefer the bottom right corner when I can. If there's text already there, put it in the bottom left. Bring the opacity down. Mine's at 55 right now, so you can find that in your motion. I feel like it's too abrasive if it's in full color, and you're also missing some of the content on the video behind it. So click on the logo and just drag it down. Again, I was at about 55, 52, 53 works. 56 works fine. 53 now. And then just keep it there for the entire video if it's a company that has a logo. And that also takes the footage that's a little bit amateurish and gives them the branding that they might want to look professional. Okay. And then the very end, I put the logo along with the contact information. If there's a website, I just used his logo, but you could type it here in text, have it come in with some motion. Get creative. All right, so those are just a few of the things that I recommend you try out. Add as many effects as you can. Play with it. Have fun. Be creative. If you have any questions, you can email me. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what you come up with. Thank you so much.